So with the advent of whole genome sequencing, there's a vast amount of new knowledge that can be gleaned about a particular patient. So in the past, when we talk about things like prescribing drugs to a given individual, there's really the only thing we have to rely on is clinical trials that a pharmaceutical company will have run in the past to show that there was an overall improvement in patient health across a population of individuals that took the drug. But it doesn't really tell you anything about a specific patient, one person, and what their particular result would be in taking that particular drug. So what whole genome sequencing allows us to do is really look at that individual patient and see whether or not their particular makeup genetically will allow their body to metabolize that drug, or what efficacy or what dosing would be appropriate for that particular individual. So this is a huge advance in medical science, and it means now that physicians don't have to guess when it comes to what medications to put someone on, what dosage is appropriate. Now, along with this, there's some significant challenges to the generation of the data and the caretaking and storage of that data. So there's having a whole genome sequence means you know an awful lot about that person, above and beyond just drug result. And so the intent of this company is also to be an expert custodian in a way that is ethical and that provides the right level of transparency to the patient about how that data is actually being used. So the core to all of this is kind of building this ecosystem of both ethical storage, translation of that information and interpretation into human readable form, and then putting it in the hands of the physician so that they can actually make good decisions. So Coriell brings a really deep scientific domain expertise into the use of genetics in personal care, and IBM brings a tremendous amount of technological and data handling capabilities that are frankly unmatched around the world. So we've been working very deeply with IBM to build out an architecture and an infrastructure that makes sense to create a pipeline for data that can bring information from a sequencer right through interpretation, storage, and into the hands of a clinician. So we've been working very, very deeply with IBM in order to understand what tools and technologies need to be brought to bear so that we can build out this infrastructure in a way that makes sense. So what IBM brings to the table for us, from the perspective of our technology partnership, is tools that are really world-class, enterprise class for the protection of data. And this is of monumental importance when we talk about the type of data that we're storing. It's not only medical information, but this truly is the blueprint of an individual that's going to be stored in electronic form. So there's nothing more personal than your DNA, and the inappropriate use or access of that data is a really big deal. So we're really relying on IBM and all of their wealth of experience, tools, technology, and expertise to help us to safeguard that in a way that's really puts the patient first. So the simple logistics of moving around genetic information, whole genome sequences, is really daunting. It's 3.2 billion points of information for every individual. And so that's a really challenging task for a hospital system to think about storing in their own internal space, or even to try to broker out to others. And so the advent of cloud technologies and the notion of being able to put data out in a secured fashion, accessible but still protected, in an infrastructure that can flex, that can really be on demand as needed, is incredibly important in this whole space, because sequence data will be generated, it will be used episodically, and then it can simply be put away on a shelf until it's needed again. And so that very much or cloud technologies very much lend to supporting that whole vision. So ultimately what it means is that the patient's records can travel with them. So in a fragmented healthcare market like we have in the United States, a typical payer has a patient in their system for 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, and then they move. They either change jobs or their job changes healthcare provider. And what this means is that your genetic information can follow you across all of those changes in providers and systems. Your genetic information can be stored in a trusted third-party data vault like we're building with IBM. And when your new doctor needs access to that for reinterpretation for some reason in the future, it's still there. That sunk cost of having actually created that sequence in the first place can be re-leveraged in the future. And that's really only possible by this sort of cloud methodology that we're implementing at Coriell Life Sciences.